Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica podcast partner AFRI. AFRI is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it. I have the pleasure to welcome you, Dani, to Urbanistica podcast. Hey, and welcome.
Hello, and hello to all the listeners.
How are you doing?
Thank you. Very fine. Beautiful day in Helsingborg.
Yes, welcome to the city.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having us in the city.
My pleasure. So how do you find the city so far? It's like your first time here?
Yeah, first time. Second time in Sweden. Very first time in Helsingborg. I find it actually amazing. You could see the innovation outside. Yesterday I had the impression walking down for the first time because we arrived super late night and we stay a bit further out, that it's like every single part of the place, the concrete, the stone is broken to make it green.
Yeah.
Such amazing. Though actually, as we learned in Rádai, eventually that's not really the same. So you can feel this division between.
Yeah. For how long are you staying here?
Only short time, 3 days. So on Friday we'll go to Copenhagen, where I actually haven't been either. So
okay,
I know a lot about it, but finally we can.
Then it's a great trip to Scandinavia.
Exactly, and we continue to Germany by train, so quite a few hectic days.
Awesome. So Dani, you are our storyteller. How would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us what are you passionate about?
I'm an urban planner, and also I'm a water polo coach by training, and I do both these professions. I try to combine these two professions sets.
Is it possible?
Yeah, morning and afternoon and evening. It's possible, but it's a lot of time. But on the other hand, I'm of course quite passionate about these things. I live for the city. I'm born and raised within the city. I breathe the city, and I wanted to work with the city for a long time. So I hope I understand it, at least when I actually study it. and basically, I just want to. I strive for. I live for making better urban communities, because this is our primary environment. This is where we live in. This is where the world is living more and more. And of course, the future is concerning. Obviously, we are not having easy times, let alone particular challenges of the moment. Of course, if you don't strongly try to intervene and be prepared for this future, then we will be in big trouble.
Yeah, but are you both like landscape architect and urban planner?
I'm not truly a landscape architect. I finished my bachelor's in landscape architecture, but focusing on the city and urban management. Then I went to the Delft University of Technology to study urbanism. So I consider myself much more of a urbanist, urban planner.
Yeah.
Then with the landscape, I understand the landscaping. So for example, when designers, I see a design either on paper or in real life.
Yeah.
I can guess whether it's working or not.
And tell us, Dani, more about your childhood. Where you grew up? How was your childhood?
I grew up in a residential area just outside of the center of Budapest, and basically it was this small community with mid-rise buildings, and I spent my childhood on the street. And for example, it's of course a shameful thing to see how it changed over time. And right now the parking, basically we played football in the parking spot all the time.
Same here, But you spent time in the street because like it was tight at home, or just because you love to be outdoor?
Bit of both. It was not like we lived in a castle, of course. It was just an apartment. But we enjoyed our time outdoors. We enjoyed playing football. We enjoyed playing catching each other and hide and seek in the bushes and all around the parks. And I'm really sorry that kids of these days don't really have this opportunity. Yeah, like basically we reclaimed, looking back, to be frank, when you reflect in a later stage of your life, it's like we reclaimed those spaces.
Yeah,
the parking spot was our football ground. Of course, there was a lot of conflicts because we kicked people's car and stuff. But on the other hand, because of that as well, you were part of the community because, and everybody knew exactly who these kids are. Everybody knew what was happening. So worst case, if there was some small damage, you could actually figure it out because, those kids, those parents.
Exactly, yeah.
So it was different times, definitely more romantic times.
Yeah.
And by now kids play PlayStation. That's actually what I'm professionally driven to get people outdoors again.
No, because I think we have almost the same story because when I lived in Baghdad, at home it was tight, so we are kind of forced to be outdoor. But even outdoor was like, even if it was super sunny and hot, but you have to do, like to play, to sit and to chat. Even sometimes do homeworks outdoor with friends.
Just, reading and preparing.
Yeah.
I think it's an underrated discussion, especially in terms of the housing qualities.
Yeah.
And I think COVID was revealing that a bit, that we don't talk in terms of spatial outdoor development. And anyway, urban development, we don't talk enough of living spaces and how public spaces can be your living room.
Yeah. But then it's interesting because you were abroad, you studied in different universities. But you went back to Budapest. Usually people, when they study abroad, they change their minds. Say, okay, I want to be in that city and don't come back home. Not all of them, of course, but many.
I stayed outside more than 6 years in my 20s. Eventually, I went home for some private professional reasons. And then just opportunities grew on each other for like less than a year. And eventually I got this request to whether I would help a particular mayor implement his program that we actually co-created and I helped create.
Yeah.
This is it's just the opportunities take you to certain places you don't expect and you don't even believe.
Yeah.
And then that's it. You are in the middle of it.
That's true. So before you start to tell us the story, I would love, how about your career? What did you work with? Was it your first job, like this position you have now, or?
Luckily not. That would be crazy. I had a lot of different jobs, shorter, longer, through time. Also, it's actually my first real job was a salesman. Maybe that's why I can teach quite okay. And after studies, I was getting a bit sort of burned out of some technology discussions. I wanted to be more into the social sphere. I was also exploring within my thesis these boundaries, and I was working 2 years at ISOCAR, the International Society of Region and City Planners. A long time I've not been practicing this, and city and regional planners. And after that, I was with. I actually wanted to have some Budapest experience because I was away for 5 years.
Okay.
So I was working a bit with Makerspace. I was leading workshops with children, working with Industrial Revolution 4 technologies, laser cutting, 3D printing, microelectronics. We were building city models, so I could combine this. Raising children's awareness for the sustainable city, while actually building super cutting edge models. That was probably still like one of the coolest things I've done. I did multiple workshops. And I've lived in Zurich after that. I was working in the Solar Decathlon Europe competition. I was in Budapest. I had different projects. I was in Climate Kick Accelerator. And I was writing at some point. I was a consultant writing programs for elections.
Wow!
And basically, they turned to be successful. So that's also how I managed to.
What do you mean by programs like plans and visions and so on? Or
we literally wrote a Budapest vision, Budapest 2.0, we call it. And it was rather popular, and we had some good feedback about it because it's been a while that a team has been speaking about Budapest in such a concise fashion in the upcoming 2 decades context. And some others as well, but just like a couple of tangible offers of particular spaces and places. I really believe in urban development is eventually political. And it's a common affair. It's a shared story. So I really think that even on the smaller details, it's good to deal with it on a higher scale and on a higher decision level.
Very true. So what a big career journey you had until you start work.
It's weird because I can't really call it like a career track, since it's not like a very linear way.
I mean, you explore different areas.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I'm also interested in quite some different areas and different spectrums, because I believe they all contribute to the same topic. So it's interesting to see different sides. To be frank, I mean, if you are having this honest conversation, I was actually planning to have like a 10 years practice, 10 years, 10 year politics and 10 year academia.
Good luck.
Then you will see. And that got shifted and distorted pretty fast. So I don't know what's up anymore. I give up.
Yeah, exactly. So how did you because you're also a coach, right? How do you combine this? Like, do you separate them, or you think about it? One of them when you're on the other side?
In terms of thinking about the actual details, it's of course separated. I mean, you focus on what you need to. On the other hand, there are a lot of soft skills that come with both of the stories that I can really galvanize in both ways. So, for instance, I think I'm a lot more creative. I mean, if I may say that. I'm more creative as a coach and try to create different stuff and different stories, exercises, solutions to problems.
Yeah.
And also, like, as in the urbanism field, my sort of people skills helping me to get through different stories.
Which team is easier to lead? The one in the municipality, or the one on cities, or the other one?
Can't really define that directly. It's people. So with different agendas, demands, interests, fears, security and insecurity.
True. So you get the request, and how did the story start?
Well, by disbelief, because I was like, wow, you serious about this?
What was the request?
To be the deputy vice mayor in a district in Budapest, responsible for urban development. So whatever we do in terms of development and management, to oversee that and make sure things that we discussed beforehand is implemented. Which is a big deal in a case of an 80,000 people, 7 square kilometer high density urban area in Europe.
So how did you react when you got the request? You were like, oh.
The very first request I got before I had a short project in Frankfurt, so I was laughing literally. Like, are you serious? and then the elections were a week later, and nobody, like, we didn't have such a big chance to win. But then on the go, like, the numbers started adding up, and I was like, okay, well, apparently it's serious. So I still had to go back to Frankfurt, but I was like, in my mind, I was already like, okay, this is how I have to continue. And I literally flew in from Frankfurt to the city council to swear in, and I have to say that was quite a culture shock. Like, I was working a bit in Brazil, in South Africa, but to be in the council for the first time. With all those actually political nonsense as well and debates, that was a huge shock. So I was like, okay, I will have to you have to survive here.
Because like it's how to say it, there's a friction and it's not so friendly, or
yeah, we have a huge friction. It's more like a theater, you know. It's actually quite annoying that like what kind of discussions you can have in the background. But we have a very politically sensitive area, territory, and also my mayor is quite active and fights a lot with also in terms of the previous administration.
Yeah.
So they hate him, and because of that, it's like a constant clash. Also, we have some councilmen who.
Okay. So which district you have, and what are the challenges there that you start to need to solve?
It's a very complex story because previously it was basically the most disadvantaged area, also very segregated area in a very large territory in the center of Budapest. And in the late 90s, the administration realizing that they launched the program to start step by step getting out of this miserable situation, because it was like a very down spiral. So to let it happen much more, that's like a humanitarian crisis. So there came programs, European programs, some government funded programs.
Is it just specific for this area or no? It's
it's quite specific for the area. I mean, you can compare it to Sadr, for example, here, but it was much worse there.
Yeah.
Like with the actual humanitarian crisis.
Okay.
Really incredible unemployment, very diverse population, a lot of Roma population who society had prejudices against. And so there were programs and slowly started to get the area out of misery in that sense. Also, it came with some gentrification, and a lot of people had to leave their places. But a lot of people actually did get better apartments within the area. Okay. So that's a pretty great achievement. And overall, the previous administration made some public space developments, but they liked bricks instead of vegetation.
Okay.
So all around, we have a space where the building stock is in mid to low condition. The public spaces are in mid to low condition. There's an incredible lack of green space and green per capita within the whole area. So greening, mobility interventions, parking all around, and the housing stock are our main spatial agenda. But of course, it's we cover quite a bit, so it's not such a big offer. But it's obvious that we have to deal with such a scale.
So how did you start to work on it? Like because you got the job, and for how long have you been working there?
Right now, 2.5 years.
Yeah. So what was, like, how to say, the projects or the task that you work with?
A couple of tangible projects we promised beforehand. So we knew, okay, we have to deal with this. Like, for example, that there is a street where the garden of the healthcare center and the playground are very fragmented from each other. There's a gap, street parking, and we said we make one big public space where we connect these spaces, and then they turn to be a great place to make like a core street of one of the neighborhoods, like a neighborhood center. And for example, like when we got there, then we could, this was a tangible promise, so you can start working on it. It turns out that there's actual finalized design, which is very different and very car oriented, and basically does nothing just to change the asphalt to stones. So we had to redesign the entire project. There was community development, community design, participative design.
So you talk with people?
We talk with people a lot, because one of our key promises of the campaign was putting more efforts into participation and working in a participative environment. So we talk with people a lot, and of course it's not easy.
How was the reaction? Because I guess like they were left behind for many years, and then you come to them and say hello.
In theory, and in some parts of the community, it's quite positive. But when it comes to practice, and when, for example, you have to be there, because of course participation is a double-sided story, right? So everybody has to put the effort in. I mean, it's not like the vast majority wants to put that effort. But it's an ongoing process, and we have different results too. It's clear that the more efforts we put into it, the better outcomes we get. The more we go in and talk to people, it works better.
What do you mean when you say effort? Like in terms of what? Of time or campaign or what?
Well, the time, of course, is important, but that's just the side effect. Because, for example, if we go door to door, then quite good results we get, but we don't really have the resources to do that all the time. So, sometimes it's just these online consultations that are quite superficial, and it's good to get some feedback, but it's hard to really consider it a participative approach.
Yeah. So this was one of the projects.
Yeah, that was one of the projects, and overall, just overlook what's going on and where we want to go, what public spaces we want to deal with, how we want to deal with them, what they can offer. I'm personally working a lot on making these plans and ideas, and together with the teams, we just make projects out of them.
Yeah,
and then basically, right now, we have multiple implementations already.
Nice. But the budget is from the government or from the European?
That's a really messed up story, because we basically have a pretty big budget in general.
That's good, no?
8-9 million euro per year.
Wow.
And no.
It's big? No, more, right?
No, much more than that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sir. No, we have about 80 million euro budget.
Yeah. 80, yeah.
That's the scale. 80, 90.
But
the forint is changing so much.
This budget is for the district or for the entire Budapest?
No, for the district.
Only? Okay.
That's for our district. The entire Budapest is the whole public transport and everything. That's a huge budget.
Yeah.
That's about 1 billion even.
Wow.
And so the budget comes from a lot of different local taxes, parking fees, different public space uses, and we have a clash with the government because they started taking away taxes.
Okay.
There was a huge municipal shift into politics in 2019. So the government hates some municipalities. They make a lot they make some different bills to take away as many resources as they can to, of course, make our life harder.
Yeah.
And it's actually ridiculous to say that the government takes away money from a municipality. In fact, this is the exact opposite most of the world actually does, especially in terms of the pandemic context, and helping those communities and those municipalities that actually deal with the people and have the people on the spot.
That's true.
On the ground. So bad they take away the money, and they take away development funds. So mostly development funds we can generate by we still have a huge building stock and assets. Some that are hard to utilize.
Yeah.
So we can still sell some and redevelop the neighborhood district with that. So basically, it's just an asset conversion or management. We sell some properties that we can't really do anything with, and then we develop stuff, places, spaces that make sense to improve in the long term.
Do you spend a lot of time on the organizational, conflict instead of working on the actual project on the streets?
You mean the orgware and how the whole...
No, I mean like in the organization. Now you mentioned like the budget and the municipality, the government, the team, the previous administration.
I deal with it a lot personally as well.
Yeah.
And also, as a team, we deal with
exactly,
it a lot. So of course it's super important. And when we talk about creative bureaucracy in the placemaking context as well, I really feel that in my on my shoulders, how the whole structure works, and it has a huge influence on the efficiency that we work with. Like, for example, how to get from idea to implementation. Creative bureaucracy and bureaucracy itself, of course, it's all around. You always listen to these stories that we had these ideas and those ideas, and we couldn't do much because of the administration. So of course you have to streamline the administration, and like I'm quite a bully because like things that I believe in and things that I talk about has nothing to do with what these administrations have seen before. Yeah. So basically, it's like we had some clashes in the beginning, and we had to explain in long processes what exactly we mean by certain things. But it's very rewarding because once you get there and everybody internalize the story, then basically, okay, spot on, let's get to work.
Exactly. What do you think, Danny? What do you think was or is the key to get problems solved or to get them on the same page as yours?
It's when that is when the whole coaching story also comes back, because we talk about teams, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, obviously you have to have everybody internalize the story and feel the outcomes and feel the values
within your team.
Exactly. And within my closer teams and within the whole administration. Because problems in every kind of organization start when you don't have ownership on what you want to achieve. So of course, for example, in terms of discussing the values of the projects and the potential outcomes, can never be too long, because it's worth to invest all these times.
Yeah.
The good thing is when, of course, we replicate the projects, or at least their main sides, then you don't have to talk about the values all the time again. And we are pretty concise. I'm very strong being very consistent on the values that we talk about. So it's not like, oh, this is what we want to do here, and this is how we like big parking spaces here and a lot of green there. Mm-hmm. No, we are in a very green, very livable, very social trajectory.
Are you bold in your leadership? Like you say, this is it.
I listen, of course, and we discuss. So everybody can always ask questions, and everybody can always be critical and form critique. So eventually the conclusion should be mutual.
Yeah.
But I'm very bold at what I want to do and with the direction we want to take. And it's the same as the mayor's vision. Yeah. That's why we are also doing it together. I was actually surprised in the beginning, like, oh, I can get somebody who's such like me. And he was also like, wow, I have somebody who can help me because he's so like me.
The mayor.
Yeah, we never fight about like, okay, kicking out 10 parking spots for 20 trees. That's not a
because you believe in the same thing.
Exactly. We know, we don't have to like argue for this.
Yeah.
And that's really important, because to be consistent in that, that helps these decision-making processes, and also like, the conversations outside.
Yeah.
People know what to expect from us. It's not like a roller coaster. I have to say that in the beginning, it was harder to go through some clashes. Because defend our policies.
Because
first of all, the way we came from completely from outside, including the mayor. He was a civilian, and the fact that I see my name in all different contexts in the news, you have to deal with that.
Okay.
And that's a process that you go through, and eventually, you start dealing with it. And ironically, when I was like, all these politicians, like when they don't care about the people and they're being dickheads. But of course, you do care, but you obviously have to, if some counter agencies say some bad stuff about you, you can't really feel that deep, especially when you believe in where you are going. And to be honest, being with you guys and in the Placemaking Europe network as well, and with some other friends I have who live for making a better city, that's a really huge encouragement for me to like, okay, I know it's tough now, and I know that there's no precedent, there's no history in the city about these discussions, but I know it's the right discussion. And I don't know if we go there, eventually looking back in retrospect, it's going to be like, yeah, you took the right direction.
Yeah.
So I'm okay listening for 2 hours about where people will park in a street where we actually just removed like 30% of the parking, but made it incredibly green.
Awesome.
So eventually, like, kidding me? Like, this is the best compromise that ever existed.
All right.
To be frank, I think there are a lot more parkings to make them green and parklets and terraces. It's like, for example, in this public forum, at like halftime, I gave a speech like, we are working for the future and for your children and your grandchildren. So I understand the demands of the present and to certain minority demands of the present, but I have to look for the majority demands of the future.
Of course.
Because when we invest, €500,000 or 1 million or 2 million euro in a bigger story, you have to make that future proof. Otherwise, it's basically a waste of taxpayers' money. And I would say it's actually treason with the citizens.
That's true. I just want to go back to the point of the network and placemaking Europe network. I think sometimes I feel the same, like belonging to this kind of community gives a lot of motivation and a lot of help. Maybe sometimes not professionals, because you cannot like work on the same project, but like, this atmosphere and vibes that you're on the right direction and you're not alone. Even like sometimes it feels like you're alone, but you have the support from people.
And that's why it's really important to be part of these communities. I actually showed some projects in one of the working groups. I even got feedback. So I showed it to get. It was
that's nice.
We had this training last year.
In which working group? And
place-led development. Multiple more guys shared, and then we discussed, because eventually that's the. I find it superficial sometimes to have these conversations in conferences like, oh, I did this and I did that. And the main question is how you did it, because we all know these images and we all know the vision and the what, but the how is the missing. And talking about bureaucracy and creative bureaucracy and the administrations and all these struggles. Like the Barcelona chief architect like half a year ago showed me how they, in 3 weeks.
Xavi?
Yeah, Xavi, amazing guy. He showed in a session how they made these places run schools in 3 weeks. And I was like, man, I mean, it looks beautiful. It's super.
But tell me.
But in 3 weeks, no way. Now you please kindly explain how that happened in 3 weeks. And he's like, before the winter break, the mayor says to all the companies, now you have to work together, and this is how you have to go. I mean, I don't really want to say it because it's his story and he knows it better. And I don't want to make a mistake on it.
I did the podcast with him, and he also like, yes, we transformed, I think, like 300 schools. They're like, whoa, wait.
Now starts the conversation. The glorious how. I mean, eventually the pitch as well. Like what, why? Okay, so far better. Okay, but how? The how,
But is there like a pressure on you from the media as well?
Not really. But on the other hand, I actually don't know either, because in the very beginning I was surprised. We made public forums. We went to every neighborhood, and we made a lot of, let's say, innovative looking ideas. I mean, by feedback, it was innovative, like
urban development ideas?
Yeah, urbanism ideas, community ideas. Rarely new coming sort of community leaders talk about these things. And then I gave interviews in very mainstream media. I was in Forbes Hungary in a 3-page long interview. It started with 1 page, then they wanted 2 more. So I mean, there was feedback that things that we talk about is interesting, and it's it has a place and demand for. And basically, it looked like that there will be covering, and that there's an interest around these things that we do. But then, of course, it was very early, and then we started getting deeper. We got our hands dirty. We were working our butt off 60, 70 hours per week. And of course, you don't get results for a while. It's really hard to show. The first year, we were super tight on the budget. I haven't done anything realized in the first year.
Okay.
There's nothing to show. So, of course, it's mentally very daunting.
Yeah.
The second year starts some shorter term results. And by now, and this year, this is like this is harvesting time.
Yeah.
And that's why also I'm a lot more confident and comfortable with the whole situation.
Yeah.
But for example, of course, you get some pressure, like, okay, nothing is happening here. Like the opposing media, nothing is happening, nothing is
even developing. The people maybe.
People, of course, as well.
Yeah.
And then you have to deal with this narrative, but also it's a conflict. Like, okay, we haven't built some stuff because we had to redesign your crap. I mean, I'm sorry to say that, but I'm not paying money for on this nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
But also tactically, we made a lot of interventions now. And so if you walk around in certain places, you can see, okay, there's a little bus here, something is happening.
That's cool.
So then actually the demand grows, and we got a really positive feedback, and you would not guess how. Like we made for example, we have an open street, the New York inspiration. And we launched it last summer. And in the participative budget, then there are claims that we want the same street in different neighborhoods. And that's when you're like, okay, so they didn't say we want an open street or we want this. They want that specific
copy
story.
paste. Yeah.
They want a copy paste. And that's like, okay, that's not so bad to hear. They want a copy paste on something that's
a great story. But like, it's a lot of, as you mentioned, like in this kind of journey, sometimes you feel alone. Sometimes you feel like many people against you, against your vision, against what you do. And sometimes it affects you mentally. So as a coach, because I know many people listening to us as well from municipalities, but even from other organizations that under the same pressure. So how do you handle this kind of pressure? What you should think about?
I don't feel alone. I didn't want to make this impression. I have an amazing team. I have actually multiple amazing teams. Great people who we managed to capture also by our vision and where we want to go. Looks like more and more people are coming. So that's a great story. And I'm really proud. I'm really proud and I'm really pleased with my team. I'm very honored to work
That's
with
great
them
to hear.
because they share the story.
Yeah.
And they also put a lot of efforts into to making this happen. On the and around as well, we have a huge support network. There are a lot of civilian NGOs. There are a lot of change makers, rising stars, idea leaders, thought leaders, who we share the same story. I mean, I'm coming from the profession, so it's actually ironic when you get to this position. I mean, some people were laughing. I was like, hey, you know what my next job is? Like, and finally a decent conversation we can have in the municipality.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's like this network, and sometimes everybody takes everything for granted. So for example, there's in a public forum, I'm like alone fighting about the parking spots. But you know that people follow you and they appreciate the effort, and it's a shared story. And when the conversation gets really heated, then it becomes a civil war. But then everybody makes their say, which is great, because then you feel you are really not alone, and there's really a purpose and really a reason to go for it. And there are communities that we represent and that we work for, and that's for me the most important.
It's great to hear that. And I also thinking about this aspect, because when you come to district and with a low or the high number of unemployment and problems, and you come to them and say, hey, we're going to do public spaces, we're going to take parking to make it more green. How do they react? I mean, do they say, okay, this will not solve our problems, give us a job?
Luckily, by now, we don't have such an unemployment crisis, such an employability crisis. Also because, well, in Hungary in general, the employment rate is quite okay.
Nice.
I think we have a rather low, even in the European standards, relatively low unemployment rate, and particularly in Budapest. So, to be honest, if you want to work, you find a job now.
Nice.
And usually the conversation is not like that. It's about housing. So we do have an issue on housing and the housing stock and the condition of the housing stock and the apartments. That's related both on private housing and public housing. We have a lot of housing. We have 4,500 apartments, municipal public apartments, social houses so to say. And their condition have some problems, but the entire business model on social housing is really bad. Eventually super unsustainable. The rents are incredibly low, so it's really hard to invest back into this story. So we are using some other funds. Now we are spending 5 million euro this year to renovate apartments and houses, which is a super huge budget, never seen in like 15 years.
So the discussion is about housing, not about like the social problems or the unemployment in the district.
Not about social problems, but a bit in terms of security. But I mean, that's a long discussion, and I have very strong points on that. But anyway, Budapest and this district is super safe as well. By now, it have huge problems, but I'm talking about these current issues. So, for example, we can talk about public spaces because people appreciate their environment much more than 10, 20 years ago.
Okay.
Also because of the housing, like we do, like your first question today, related to that, there are a lot of tiny and small apartments. So people want to live outside and spend time outdoors. So it really is important how these public spaces look like and how they function.
Yeah.
So not just to be spaces, but actually truly offering places to people. So in this both, so it's a constant huge effort to put housing and public spaces. Sometimes of course there's like, why don't you deal with my apartment? And of course
exactly,
every apartment. But we are now in a pretty structural way. We actually are, next week in a council meeting we are accepting the new housing plan,
which is about
apartment plan, which tells where to renovate, how to renovate. Takes on a lot of houses and apartments in this program, allocates some budget. We already allocated the budget and we already have some procurements undergoing. So the tenders are on for developments and renovations. So like, there's so much you can do, but I think we are putting a significant effort into this story now.
So what are, let's say two aspects, what are the challenges and what are the goals that you're going to work on in the coming years?
I'm still livability is the main keyword that you can most use. I mean, sustainability, resilience. I started using the word resilience in Budapest, and everybody's like, "What the hell?" And of course, it's not good as a decision maker to use words that people don't understand.
What is it in your language? How does this?
It's literally just being prepared for challenges. And being flexible to those challenges. And actually, COVID was quite messed up. That when I started using this word a few weeks after, there came a pandemic, and it's like the primary. Here's a big ass challenge. Like you wanted to hear. For example, our economy was really not damn resilient because when the pandemic hit, like a lot of enterprises and smaller enterprises were in big trouble. So you can't consider this a good story beforehand. That's actually a governmental question, but I don't want to get into that now. So this whole what I discussed in terms of the public spaces as well. So be future proof, be happy, be lovable. Basically the placemaking narratives. Make the city your living room. Enjoy being in the city, want to be in the city, do want to be in the city. And for example, now that we are relatively through COVID, or like let's hope this no other stages may return. Budapest, for example, is incredibly vibrant now. And basically in the very beginning when I started, for example in Forbes, I was like, I want to see these vibrant public spaces where people are not hunted, where different public space uses are not a conflict, where we appreciate each other. So COVID came. So for 2 years, it's like, public spaces have a whole different story. Like you just want to go outside, maybe do a bit of workout and stuff. It's not like huge meeting stories. And we have a lot of programs now. People can choose from a lot of different things. We are much more open for organizations. So if bottom up and grassroots initiatives come, the administration is much easier to deal with that and make permits and approval. We have in Népszínház utca, the most diverse street in Budapest. They will make a festival again. Last year, the Pakistani community made a festival. It was a huge success. This year, they cooperate with a bigger range of shop owners. So I'm really looking forward to. And it's this was the dream, to facilitate these stories and this, this is you are a community within a community. And let's get together and make stuff happen. And that's a bit of creative bureaucracy as well, of course, to make, allow these things to flourish and these stories. And right now, to be frank, I see on the public spaces exactly what I wanted to see 2.5 years ago. And honestly, I don't even want to go. I love still traveling and going abroad, but for example, I don't really want to go to the countryside and to whatever, have an ice cream somewhere else, because it's just nice to walk out and have the ice cream in the corner, and that's super relaxing enough. And there are people you wave at, and the city is indeed, and Budapest is indeed, and our district particularly these days are truly becoming our living room and our home.
That's so nice. And so I'm so happy to see you so attached to the district and to the city.
Yeah, well, I grew up in this district, and I always live. When I live in Budapest, that's my home. So
awesome.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
But even the Budapest waterfront. Last week we had placemaking days in Budapest, and the Budapest waterfront had some moments and places and situations and atmosphere that this city badly needs. And it's so great to show these examples, because then it's like you don't just talk about it and nobody knows what you talk about. Maybe you can show an image from a European example.
Yeah.
Hey, this is what we talk about. And then in the participatory budget, they demand that exact thing.
That's so smart. So before moving to the last section of this episode, I would love to ask you, what is your dream about this project?
About our let's call it project.
Yeah.
I would just say just going through these values and keep going with these actual projects. I mean, to have a stronger community eventually within. We don't really know how much time we have, because Viktor Orbán and the government can basically shut the door any second, especially since the new elections. But to have a stronger community, to have a happier community, to have a healthier community, eventually a resilient community that can deal with challenges. In terms of space, I have this image in my head about a couple of streets where you just bike with an Dutch Oma Fit, the grandma bicycle. You can just ring to the vendors, the fruit shop waving at you, and you're ringing the bell. The birds are. You can hear the birds. Children are happy playing on the street in a parklet, for instance. We actually just launched a big traffic mitigation, traffic calming program. Just to be in a neighborhood that people actually proud and content satisfied to be in. Not like, it's nothing too special. We have some examples, but it's more like we just start and we come from such a distance and so far from. The process is demanding. Yeah,
very interesting. And I really wish you good luck with this, and I hope you keep us updated about all the
Thanks.
journey.
In a few hours, I show you some.
Of course. Yeah, then you have all things on the street. So in the last section, I have 4 questions here. The first question is about what should placemakers stop doing?
Never take anything for granted, and never be easy on discussion with the people.
With the people?
With the people, by the people.
How do you mean?
I feel sometimes that we think decision makers, municipalities, architects, urban designers always know better, and no, nobody knows better than who lives in the corner. And also don't think that just because you made a place looking space and a place working space, don't think it's gonna be like that forever. Things change, and you have to be vigilant and be aware of what's happening, and put the efforts in for constant programming and making sure that these places work well.
And what kind of skills should placemakers learn?
Probably social skills, people skills, understanding, psychology, communication, communication particularly, to address what's good, and also to listen better, understand better, and transfer it to future stories. I think so.
Yeah. And now the last 2 questions. The first one,
honestly, just an honest curiosity.
Yeah.
The true deep interest. That's what I think.
Is the okay. Or the placemakers, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be really. To really feel the place. For example, yesterday here when Moa was telling us about your colleague, about these places, and you can feel how much she's attached to it, and it's a very internal story.
Yeah,
you can't just go to a place. Like I feel so many times though true placemakers don't do that, right?
True.
But some wannabe placemakers just go to a place, let's do something here, which is like, well, that's not the way it goes.
Yeah, true. Awesome. So in the last two questions, I hope it's fine for you. I will make a video, put it on Instagram. Is it fine?
Sure.
Yes. So the first question is going to be about you giving me and the listeners 3 takeaway messages.
Stay open and do demand and crave for a more resilient and shared future. Be open for any kind of discussion, idea, whatsoever, and be optimistic and believe in it.
Yeah.
Like with all the challenges, it's pretty much our belief what takes us through.
Yeah. And the last question is going to be you asking it to me and to the listener. So what is your question to me and to the listener?
How do you think, what steps are needed really to get to that future where we can actually coexist and live in a sustainable way and basically literally just survive? That's where we are right now.
Thank you so much, Danny. I'm happy to see you here in Helsingborg and hopefully see you in another city with one more interesting conversation. But thank you so much for giving your time to the podcast.
I was honored to join you guys. Thanks a lot.